Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for spending part of your day with us. The Democrats are in trouble. It's no secret. They've been in trouble for quite some time, getting blown out last election. I think they can expect to continue to get blown out for months and years to come. Don't take my word for it. Let's take the New York Times' word for it. New York Times has a new piece out today. It's titled, "The Democrat Party Faces a Voter Crisis, Registration Crisis, rather." And they start off like this. The Democratic Party is hemorrhaging voters long before they even go to the polls. Of the 30 states that track voter registrations by political party, Democrats lost ground to Republicans in every single one of them between the 2020 elections and the 2024 elections. The 4-year swing towards Republican adds up to a sum of about 4.5 million voters, a deep political hole that can take the Democrats years to get out of. And this is all according to the New York Times, losing votes in states from Maine, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all blue states for the most part, with the exception of Pennsylvania. Obviously, this last election, California and Nevada also among those losing. New Mexico, another one that is hopefully coming towards the center. The stampede away from the Democratic Party is occurring in battleground states, the bluest states and the reddest states too, according to the new analysis of voter registration data by the New York Times. This is great news, folks. This comes just on the heels of the Republicans now getting ready in states like Texas to do their redistricting, where they will add seats accordingly to how many citizens have moved to those states. And the Democratic states will have no choice but to lose seats like New York and California. Now, California wants to play games, and Gavin Newsom is vowing to do gerrymandering. That's not what the Republicans are doing. They're doing redistricting, adding seats according to the census or what the population totals are, whereas what California wants to do is illegally redistrict seats to make Democratic seats stronger and Republican seats weaker. But after looking over those seats, there's maybe only 2 or 3 that the Democrats are able to flip. And that's not counting the shift in momentum that we saw in California this election. So Gavin Newsom is playing with fire, and he's going to get burnt. Take my word for it. It's going to happen. It's not a battle he's going to win, as Texas, as I said, does it the right way. Now, the Democrats are losing across the board. They're corrupt, most of them criminals, as we've seen be exposed. But we've got a new one. President Trump today is calling on Biden appointee Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook to resign after the head of Federal Housing and Financing Agency, Bill Pulte, has criminally referred her to the Justice Department for, you ready for this? Mortgage fraud. You could add her to the list of Adam Schiff and Letitia James and the rest of them who think that they are going to get away with this. Now, according to Pulte's criminal referral, Lisa Cook committed mortgage fraud by lying on her mortgage application and falsifying bank statements when she designated her out-of-state Atlanta, Georgia condo as her primary residence just 2 weeks after taking a loan on her Michigan home, which she also claimed as her primary residence. Now, you can't do that because your time is majority spent in one place or the other. It's not possible to have 2 primary residences. By claiming her primary residence out of state at that condo, Lisa Cook received more favorable loan terms and a lower interest rate. In June of 2021, Cook acquired a loan on a property in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which she also said was her primary residence. On the mortgage agreement, she represented this, quote, used the property as borrower's principal resident within 60 days after the execution of the agreement. This according to Bill Pulte, the FHA director. Now, in July, 2 weeks later of 2021, just 2 weeks after, Lisa Cook also purchased a condo in Atlanta and entered a 30-year mortgage agreement and affirmed the property would serve, get ready for it, as her primary residence within 60 days. According to Pulte, while Cook affirmed her Atlanta property would serve as her primary residence, online records indicate the property was listed for rent in September of 2022, so just over a year later. That doesn't seem right. How can you rent out your primary residence, even if you got 2, for rent? Something's got to give. Somebody's lying about something, right? This seems to be the common trend now among these Democrats. And the whole notion of it is funny because they went after Donald Trump for what they said was mortgage and loan fraud. Did they think that they were going to get away with it? Did they think that none of their nonsense would ever be uncovered? It's apparent now that we look at this, but these people are a ship of total fools, as the house of cards is now crumbling down on the likes of Adam Schiff and Letitia James and Lisa Cook and everyone else who decided they were going to break the law. This is not retribution. This is mere truth, justice, and the American way. That's how this country works. Criminals go to jail. Criminals are prosecuted, not persecuted. What they did to Donald Trump was retribution for him making America great again, retribution for him being the greatest president of our lifetime, retribution for winning the 2016 election. This is just mere investigations of people committing crimes such as Adam Schiff and the rest of the gangs. Now, Adam Schiff's problems are far from over with just his mortgage fraud. Adam Schiff was leaking classified information, leaking classified documents. We all know that from the Russia collusion hoax, which Adam Schiff ran with for years and ran with that Donald Trump was a Russian stooge. Donald Trump was a Russian agent. We all knew that was a lie, but Schiff nonetheless decided he was going to run with that. And now it's time for him to start answering some questions, not just about his mortgage fraud, but about what he's done and his lies and his deceit of President Trump. So before we bring in our guest today, we're going to be joined in just a moment by the great Roger Stone, a good friend of mine, a great friend of the show. President Trump's administration has overseen a 367% increase in ICE arrests of illegal aliens in just the state of Georgia. More than a year after 22-year-old Laken Riley was murdered by an illegal alien in Athens, Georgia, ICE has drastically increased their immigration enforcement across the Peach State, according to a new analysis from January of 20 to the July 31st of this year. ICE agents arrested more than 4,500 illegal aliens in Georgia, which I said is a 367% increase from what we saw under the year prior of Joe Biden. Country's closed, folks. We're closed for business. Well, we're open for business, but just not illegal business, which is what the Democrats want to bring in here. The only business we're going to be doing is legal business with legal people in this country who come legally, not these illegal aliens who think they're going to come here and use and abuse our system. And for the criminals who come here, your days are numbered. And for some of you, your days are over. We're going to take a quick break here, folks. When we return, we're going to be joined by our good friend, Roger Stone. We're going to take up all of this. Roger was the one who broke the story on Letitia James, actually right here on the Great America Show a few months ago, doing her mortgage fraud. So we're going to get his take on the latest mortgage fraud, the Russia collusion hoax. President Trump has also been invited to Moscow. We're going to get Roger's take on all that as a man who was a victim of the Russia collusion hoax and all of that good stuff. We're going to get Roger's take on the other side of this quick break, folks. The Great America Show continues in just one moment. Please stay with us.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Roger, welcome back. As always, a delight to have you with us. It's a new day, and guess what? It's another day where we found out that another Democrat is doing some sort of criminal activity. This time it happens to be what seems to be the common denominator in mortgage fraud The Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook, the latest to be found out.
Yeah, this is really a blockbuster story because it's not, of course, John, just about her. But the President of the United States, while he doesn't have the authority to fire Federal Reserve board members except for cause, and violation of the law would be such a cause. So this woman, Lisa Cook, by the way, the photos you've seen of her online are she's about 100 pounds heavier than that. She is now charged specifically in a referral letter that Bill Pulte, the chairman of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, has sent to Attorney General Pam Bondi. Specifically, Cook took mortgages on properties in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and in Georgia, outside of Atlanta, signing two different agreements stipulating that both of them would be her primary legal residence, thus getting a tax break in both states and qualifying for a lower mortgage rate and a lower insurance rate. This is, of course, a felony. Ironically, the exact same felony that Adam Pencil Neck Schiff engaged in. And I now think Cook will also be charged. John, what is it with these elite politicians, or maybe it's just Democrats that figure we can do whatever we want, we'll never be held accountable? They try to put me, they try to put General Flynn, they try to put Donald Trump in jail. We actually never did anything wrong. But these people think that they can just get away with this. And Schiff's defense is almost laughable. He says, the president is upset because I own two homes. No, asshole. The president is upset because you took an illegal tax deduction on both of them and you qualified for a lower mortgage rate because you lied. Now he has a legal defense fund, which he's going to need because the far more serious crime here is the leaking of classified documents. Now, that was documented, John, back by the Biden administration Inspector General at the Justice Department back in December of 2024. Adam Schiff and his sidekick, Congressman Eric Swallowswell of California, were both accused of leaking classified documents. By the way, that's a far more serious felony than the one that I was falsely convicted of, lying under oath in my voluntary testimony to cover up the Russian collusion, which we now know never actually happened. Nothing to cover up, no motive. So I think Adam Schiff has got a rough period ahead. I think he'll be charged not only in California or Maryland, probably Maryland, but I also think that he's probably going to be charged by the grand jury that we're told is looking at the Russian collusion hoax, along with his compatriots, Rod Rosenstein, Andrew Weissman, Robert Mueller, General James Clapper, if he can take time off from his job teaching ethics at Vermont College. Of course, the communist Islamic convert, John Brennan, who I accurately predicted, or I accurately said last week, I reported that he had flown the company, he'd fled the country, I think ahead of what he knows is his impending arrest. Stand by that story. Now, he may be back in the country now. I believe he went from Austria. I actually have sightings. I even have video of him in Ireland. He is reportedly trying to get a second passport. But maybe he'll be received by his new jihadi comrades since he converted to radical Wahhabism when he was the CIA station chief in Riyadh.
Nobody needs to go down more than Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, as well as you said. I mean, they're two terrible people who have lied, and they hide behind this thing called congressional immunity, which a lot of people don't know about. It means members of Congress and the Senate, whatever, if you want to consider them, members of the House and the Senate, can say whatever they want under this blanket immunity and not be held accountable. They've literally went out there and called Donald Trump a rapist, and there's nothing they could do about it. Now in a regular world, he can sue someone for defamation, but in Congress they can't because they have this congressional immunity. You'd mentioned Robert Mueller. I'm not sure if you saw, but this week the House Oversight Committee pulled their request for a subpoena for him to appear before the committee because his mental health is apparently so bad because he's living in an assisted facility for, I guess what they're saying is some sort of dementia, which we all knew about back when you were being harassed by him.
Yeah, he demonstrated that. I think the sequence of events here, of course, is that after having unlimited legal power, unlimited legal authority to investigate anything whatsoever, so there was no narrow scope, Andrew Weissman, the epically corrupt prosecutor who was the de facto head of the Mueller witch hunt, couldn't find any Russian collusion. It literally did not exist. Mm-hmm. The final report was published. They tried to shift the focus from Russian collusion, for which they had no evidence whatsoever, to obstruction. That failed. Then, in an effort to reinflate their bogus report, they made the mistake of letting Robert Mueller testify before Congress. He said a number of interesting things. He never heard of Fusion GPS, the people that created the Steele dossier. He wasn't familiar with the Steele dossier. He didn't know that Jeannie Rhee, the chief prosecutor in my case, had previously represented Hillary Clinton on the illegal email server case. He didn't know this despite the fact that Jeannie Rhee was his law partner. So this guy was around the bend then. I don't think that this, I imagine that when he's charged, and he will be charged, that he will assert an insanity defense, but I don't think that should spare him conviction, in all honesty.
No, because it didn't spare anybody else conviction. Donald Trump had to run for president again because his life literally depended on it. Not that America's life didn't depend on it, which is, I think, ultimately why he decided to run. But the guy was facing 7. Can you imagine what would happen if Donald Trump had lost this last election? We would never see him again, Roger, because he'd be in the jail cell for the rest of his life.
No, it's sadly true. But I'm glad to see, and I think Bill Pulte is a perfect example of that. At least some Republicans are prepared to play the game the way they do. In other words, the law matters. If I may paraphrase the judge in my case, the facts matter, the law matters, the regulations matter, the rules matter. That's why they are going to be prosecuted, every one of them. I'm particularly interested, John, you may remember this. President Trump filed a civil case in Miami, in the Southern District of Florida, in which he laid out the entire Russian collusion hoax in great detail. The judge, Middleton, who must be removed and has to be stepped down, ruled that the case was frivolous, and he fined Donald Trump and his lawyer, Alina Habba, and his other lawyer, Peter Tickton, $1 million apiece. Now, the entire case has been proven to be true. Therefore, if Mike Johnson has any cojones whatsoever, there will be articles of impeachment in the House of Representatives against Judge Middleton, and they'll send him a subpoena and say, Judge, come on up here and explain yourself to us. You see, if you look at the Constitution, no place does it say that the judiciary is supreme to the legislature, because it's not. And these crazy, corrupt federal judges like Middleton, whose ruling here is proven to be completely false, have to be held accountable. That guy needs to, first of all, there are some, lawyers tell me, there are some extraordinary circumstances in which that decision can be reversed, but Middleton must be impeached. And at a minimum, he must face a trial in the U.S. Senate. Now, 2/3 of the vote in the Senate is a very high bar, but I just want the judge to explain under oath why he lied to the American people.
Yeah, or otherwise we keep letting them get away with it. Another criminal who, of course, did mortgage fraud that we know about, that you've worked on extensively, Big Tish James, is now being called on by Special Prosecutor Ed Martin to resign for what, like I said, she's being accused of more mortgage fraud. Ed Martin sending a letter, quote, "At this time, Letitia James would best serve the good of the state and the nation by resigning from office to address the issue in the referral," Ed Martin wrote in a letter to Abby Lowell. Now, that name may sound familiar because he represented crackhead Hunter Biden. He continued, "Her resignation from office would give the people of New York and America more peace than precedent. I would take this as an act of good faith," and maybe I guess he'll go a little bit easier on her. Maybe not. Who knows? But this is another woman who's ran rampant, Roger, for years against just about everybody and she's gotten away with it, hopefully up until now.
Well, first of all, I think we both recognize since Governor Kathy Hochul and the Democrats in control of the New York legislature have created a $10 million slush fund so that Big Tish will have all of her legal bills paid. She's not going to resign. She has much bigger problems than the mortgage case. She actively knew that the Standard Chartered Bank of New York was in violation of the Iranian sanctions, that they wired through the Federal Reserve, who also knew, $9.6 billion in money that ended up in the hands of Hamas and Hezbollah, another $100 million that went to China for the purchase of Iranian oil in violation of further sanctions. Tish James knew all about it. Her people were in the meetings. They did nothing whatsoever. That's just one of the many crimes that I suspect that she'll be yet charged with on top of the mortgage fraud. While looking at her public disclosures, John, it's almost impossible to believe that anybody could possibly be this incompetent or this stupid. They are so sloppy. They're so inconsistent. One year, a property is a rental property. The next year, it's not. The next year, it is. The following year, she lists rental income. Then it's missing from the next year. Then it's back in her filings in the following year. It looks like this was done by a child. But I think it's time for her to be held responsible. There's also, and you can talk to my good friend Sal Greco about this, there's very definitely the cover-up of child sex trafficking that took place in the Bronx. She knew all about it. She did nothing about it. Formal complaints were filed. She quashed those. I expect her to be charged in that crime as well.
Think about this list of people we have right now. Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, Letitia James, Fannie Willis down in Georgia, I think, who's yet to be charged, but she's on the brink of being charged. I mean, there's various crimes that she's committed. James Comey. You look at all these people, Roger, every single one of them who went after Donald Trump all had skeletons in the closet. Not one of these people who went after Donald Trump, down to the judges, Juan Merchant, Boasberg, these people all have some sort of skeleton in the closet. Not one of these people has a clean rap sheet.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier. This is all born of arrogance. They don't think they should be held to any standard. They think, as the prosecutor in my case, he used to pound the table and yell, "I am the law. I am the law." No, dude, you're going to prison. So it is. This is the same guy, Aaron Zelinsky, who actually altered the 302s, which are the FBI reports when there's a questioning suspect. This guy actually altered the 302 of George Papadopoulos in order to get him indicted. Now, he should be disbarred at a minimum, but I think he needs to do some hard time. And the statute of limitations is not yet run on that particular crime. So I think this is not about revenge, or it's not about a retribution. It's about rebalancing the scales of justice so that everybody is treated the same, so that when there are no crimes, as there were not in my case. By the way, Tulsi Gabbard this week releasing classified documents proving beyond dispute there was no online hack of the Democrat committee by Russian intelligence. I don't care how many times John Brennan says otherwise. And by the way, Grok disagrees with this, so now I'm going to sue Grok and see how they like it.
I think that's a good idea. This isn't retribution. You're absolutely right. Retribution would be what they did to Donald Trump. This is just the law, and the Republicans are deciding to follow it. You mentioned Tulsi Gabbard. By the way, before we get to Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Bailey, who's the Attorney General of Missouri, who's perhaps one of the best attorney generals this country has to offer, up there with Ken Paxton, who's hopefully going to be the next senator from Texas, is leaving his post as Attorney General to go join the FBI as Deputy Director with Dan Bongino, apparently because of his prosecutorial experience on what they're looking at possibly moving forward. Now, that's something I think to look forward to. Going to Tulsi Gabbard had stripped the security clearances of 37 more deep state officials tied to the Trump-Russia collusion hoax this week. I don't think Donald Trump could have picked anybody better for this job than Tulsi Gabbard. And the fact that everyone's going after her means even more that there was nobody better that she could have picked for this job. I believe Tulsi is intent on getting to the bottom of these criminals, these deep state thugs and scumbags who have tried to undermine democracy in this country and ruin people's lives.
John, I could not agree with you more. Among the most egregious in this list of 37 is a man named Mar Bitar. This guy was in on the Russian collusion hoax. He was the chief national security advisor for Congressman Adam Schiff. He was the ranking counsel of the House Intelligence Committee when Schiff was in the chairmanship. He's now back on Senator Schiff's staff. I think she has removed his security clearance. By the way, I give Laura Loomer credit. She's the one who identified him. She's the one who made it known. She's the one who filed the formal complaint that ended up in his national security clearance being yanked. But he's got a much larger problem, in my opinion, because I'm told that he's among those on the target list for the grand jury looking into Russian collusion.
They've got to get these people and squeeze them like they did to every single Republican, like you, like Navarro, and squeeze these people until the juice comes out and they let out every single thing they know. And these people start squealing like rats, like Steve Bannon did in the New York grand jury. We've got to get to the bottom of this, because if we allow this stuff to continue to happen, they will do it too. If it's Marco Rubio, if it's J.D. Vance, if it's whoever the next Republican nominee is, they're next in line to be harassed by the Democrats, and they should be taking this as a serious threat, because nobody's safe around these Democrats.
Look, I'm in agreement. Look, I rarely find myself in agreement with Steve Bannon, but I agree with his call this week for a special prosecutor to look into the Epstein matter, because we need to get to the bottom of why Steve Bannon was a fixture at Jeffrey Epstein's New York home, why he visited him at his Paris apartment, why he visited his ranch in New Mexico, and why Steve Bannon and Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Epstein's pimp, why they have the same attorney. So I do think federal prosecutors need to look into this. Now, I've seen sworn grand jury testimony in which Bannon aide Sam Nunberg said that Epstein had promised to finance all of Steve Bannon's political projects. I want to know what the quid pro quo for that was. So, yes, I think we need to get to the bottom of that. And the 15 hours of video for the documentary, which was designed to rehabilitate Epstein's image after he was initially charged and convicted of sex crimes in Florida, I think that raw video needs to be subpoenaed by the government, and I think it needs to be made public.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's the right thing to do.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
I want to turn to the Democrats and the little bit of problems that they're having, Roger. Jenner Griswold over in Colorado, who tried to throw Donald Trump off the ballot, is now saying Donald Trump's call to end mail-in ballots is a threat to democracy. Take a listen.
We're in conversations with our attorneys to make sure we're defending Colorado's elections. Look, mail ballots are secure. They cannot be hacked because they're a piece of paper. That is increasingly more important as Trump has made our elections less secure since taking office again. He's disbanded much of the federal government's work on countering foreign disinformation and is obviously taking cues about democracy from a dictator, Putin.
This woman is obviously mentally ill. She's deeply mentally ill. Mail ballots can't be corrupted. Of course they can. When they're counterfeited, they're not folded, they're not mailed, they have no postmark, and they just show up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll tell you what the crime is. The crime is what Jenna Greenwald and her attorney general are doing to Tina Peters. That's the crime. This idea, by the way, it was the Democrats who used to complain about the electronic voting machines. Now they think they're terrific. This woman is a criminal. She's obviously mentally deficient if she believes that mail-in ballots are in any way secure. John, is it a coincidence that at 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, suddenly out of nowhere, 300,000 ballots show up in virtually every swing state, and 90% of them are for Joe Biden? I'm sorry, that's not coincidental. That's fraud. And Jenna Greenwald is part of that fraud. Yeah. I would suggest that that the FBI and that the Justice Department start looking at this. The president has promised us a special counsel to investigate the 2020 election. I'm told that Tulsi Gabbard has a number of classified documents that address the security of these voting machines and other issues pertaining to the 2020 election. The Griswold woman is scared to death, and you can see why.
She should be scared to death, because I'm going to let you in on a little story that the New York Times has out today. The Democrats, this is the first line of the story, the Democrats Party is hemorrhaging voters long before they even go to the polls. Of over 30 states that track voter registrations by political party, Democrats lost ground to Republicans in every single one of them between 2020 and 2024, and often by a lot. The 4-year swing state total towards Republicans adds up to 4.5 million votes, a deep political hole that could take years for the Democrats to climb out of. Roger, from states all the way up to Maine, to Vermont, to New York, to Pennsylvania, to New Jersey, to Oregon. I mean, the deepest blue states that you can possibly find in the Northeast, over on the West Coast, California, and the Democrats are just absolutely hemorrhaging, but it's to nobody to blame but themselves.
The problem, of course, is what they stand for, or actually the lack of what they stand for. The Democrat Party today is the party of war. Yeah. It's the party of censorship. It's the party of Wall Street. It's the party of the ultra wealthy and the elite. And they won't stand up for democracy. They don't believe in the Constitution. All they'd like to do is to shut down programs like this one we're on right now. So I think they have. But let's look at the leaders of their party, if we may. AOC. Bitch, make me a cocktail. I'll take a very dry martini, 2 olives, no vermouth at all. Jasmine Crockett. Somebody give this woman an IQ test. That old windbag, Bernie Sanders. Bernie used to criticize billionaires and millionaires. He now only criticizes billionaires. That's because Bernie and his wife skimmed millions of dollars from his 2 presidential campaigns in media placement firms. Now, John, that's not illegal, but it was also never disclosed to his donors. Did the donors know when they gave to Bernie that Bernie and his wife were putting 20% of that money into Bernie's pocket? Bernie's driving a top-of-the-line Mercedes these days. He's got 3 vacation homes. Bernie loves socialism for you, but not for Comrade Bernie. A bigger loudmouth, a bigger windbag, I cannot imagine. But his views are on the ascendancy in today's Democrat Party. If John F. Kennedy were alive today, he'd be a Republican.
He'd be MAGA, not just Republican. Before we wrap up, we've got 2 big stories that you guys have on the Stone Zone I want to get your take on. If you're chief of staff right now, and it's not Susie Wiles, it's chief of staff Roger Stone, which is a very scary thought. It's almost as scary as chief of staff John Fawcett. I think they're pretty far up there. President Trump has officially been extended an invitation to go to Moscow to visit, according to Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Do you think Donald Trump should just go ahead and do it and get it over with and have these people in full meltdown mode?
Look, I think the president should do anything and everything possible to forge peace between Ukraine and Russia. Yeah, and if a trip to Moscow furthers that process, yes. But you see people like Nicole Wallace. She was a big cheerleader for the war in Iraq, by the way, a war in which thousands of Americans and hundreds of thousands of Iraqis lost their lives because her boss, George W. Bush, and Dick Cheney lied to the American people. So she's got blood on her hands. Watching her on television trying desperately to scuttle any peace agreement. Oh, Putin took Trump to the cleaner. Really, where? What concessions have we made? The answer would be none. classic confrontation between Marco Rubio and this witch, where he destroyed her. No, Nicole, we're not going to negotiate in public. And yes, both sides are going to have to make some concessions. Trump's track record here, as you know, John, extraordinarily strong. That's what's driving them crazy. I mean, you have, since just going through my tick list here, since his first term when he got an agreement between Syria, Lebanon, and Israel in the Abraham Accords, he has added to that record with agreements between India and Pakistan, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, one of the longest standing, bloodiest conflicts of all time, Armenia and Azerbaijan, Cambodia and Thailand, Egypt and Ethiopia. So anyone who says he's not serious about making peace, just look at his record. Yes, he met first with Putin, and then he met with Zelensky. It takes two to tango. So he hadn't even left Alaska before the talking heads like Jake Tapper and Nicole Wallace were calling this a failure, when it's a process. We're in the middle of a process, and the process is not yet over. The folks at MSNBC think they can fool people. They're changing their name from MSNBC, which no one is watching, to MS Now, which no one will watch. Yeah. And certainly no one will believe. I'm very optimistic the president is going to pull this all together. It's got a lot of moving pieces. It's too early for anyone to say that this has been either a giant diplomatic success or a diplomatic defeat, but my money is on Donald Trump.
And my money's on success. People are so stupid. Not people, the Democrats, the people who want us to be at war with Russia. They're the same people who are saying, we should be friends with Russia. You can't have it both ways. They want it both ways just to hurt Donald Trump. But what people don't realize, what these Marxist leftists don't realize, is if Donald Trump does forge a relationship with Russia, it completely makes China obsolete. It makes China a non-entity to anybody. China will not attack anybody. China will have zero power to do anything. Iran sits down on their rear ends, does absolutely nothing. If America and Russia are able to reforge ties that are honest, Roger, and truthful, it shuts down the rest of the world from any sort of world wars, because there's nobody who's going to war. The only way there's a world war in this country is if Russia and America are on opposing sides. Do you agree?
I agree. And if the president had been going to Alaska to make a deal with Putin, that was one thing, but that's not why he went. I continue to be offended by the fact that Zelensky will not wear a suit and tie when he goes to meet the president of the United States. So he wears a suit and tie for the World Economic Forum and to go genuflect and kiss the ass of Klaus Schwab. Yeah. But he's not willing to wear a suit and tie to meet the president of the United States or to address a joint session of Congress. Yeah. John, we've given this guy billions of dollars. He can't afford a suit and tie. I think it's disrespectful to the American people.
Yeah, it's not that he can't afford it. It's just an FU to say he can do whatever he wants. He dresses up in these military clothes. To the best of my knowledge, has never been on the front lines of anything more than Dancing with the Stars in Ukraine. So I'm not sure. I'm not a Putin fan. I'm not definitely not a Zelensky fan. I'm a fan of America, and I'm a fan of world peace. Before we wrap up, Roger, I want to get to we don't just go after Democrats, Roger. We go after Republicans who are corrupt as well. One you've been going after recently, Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart, and his connection to a contract defense company that's under direct supervision by the Cuban military, bankrolling his campaign, Crowley Maritime, a DoD contractor holding $2.3 billion in defense freight transport services, $343 million in maritime force contracts. And this is a man who's representing our country here in Congress, but taking money from Cuba?
Well, taking money from a defense contractor doing business in Cuba. Yeah. I've been very critical of both Congressman Carlos Jimenez and Mario Diaz-Balart. Now, Mario was a Democrat. In fact, he was the chairman of the Miami-Dade Young Democrats until the day before he decided to run for Congress as a Republican. Crowley is a giant Jacksonville-based defense contractor with very, very lucrative contracts in Cuba, and they have ships going in and out of the major port there, which poses an enormous security risk for the United States. Interesting enough, the chairman of the Maritime Security Subcommittee of Transportation is Carlos Jimenez. In an interview last night, he pretended like he never heard of Crowley. He just like he doesn't know who they are. But then when you look at Crowley's PAC, they've given to all of his buddies in Miami-Dade. So there's a scam going on here in which a bunch of veteran politicians in Miami-Dade County who have dined out for years as opponents of the Castro regime, actually, when they have an opportunity to investigate the regime and expose the regime, they don't do so. I'm going to be exposing a lot more about the Cuban Research Institute at Florida International University, which is in Carlos Jimenez's district. This is a front for Cuban intelligence. Everyone knows it. It's been established. So these rhinos who talk a good game in their money-raising efforts to oppose the Cuban regime. But my question is simple. They've been in office for decades. How have the lives of the Cuban people improved? What have we done to loosen the grip of the authoritarian government that holds sway on the island of Cuba? The answer is nothing. Yeah. I'm going to keep calling these people out, John.
Yeah, there's no other way to put it, Roger. And I think it's why we're hated just as equally by Democrats and Republicans. It's about getting the truth out to the American people. And I say this every day. I don't sit here and protect Republicans or Democrats. I call it out, and I think you do the same exact thing, which is, like I said, why we're hated equally, I think, by both parties. Roger, as always, it's a delight to talk to you. You get the last word here, as always. By the way, folks, Roger is back on Instagram, at least for the time being. He was blocked by the Marxist leftists. He's on Instagram at Roger Stone MAGA, at Roger Stone MAGA. You can follow him there. Roger, you get the last word here.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I am back on Instagram. A lot of people said, well, it's not really him. It is me. It's Roger Stone MAGA. That's because somebody has my real name. I cannot get it. So as an experiment, look, who knows? They may ban me again tomorrow. I'm still banned for life at Facebook. And, of course, they're both owned by Meta. But you can always find me on X, where I am Roger J. Stone Jr., Roger J. Stone Jr. I'm a little perplexed, John, because I get literally thousands and thousands of likes. I get hundreds of thousands of views, yet those following me seems to grow very, very, very slowly. I'm just under a million people, 870,000. So I urge folks to follow me on X. I love Elon Musk, frankly. I think he's done more for free speech than perhaps some of the any living politician today, and as much as some of the founding fathers. I don't always agree with him, but I do think he's a great man. I think he struck a serious blow for the First Amendment and free speech. So folks can follow me at X as Roger J. Stone Jr. I am verified there. But hop over to Instagram. This is an experiment. Roger Stone MAGA. Follow me there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's worth a try. And I mean, I agree with you on Elon Musk. I think he's got to come back to the table and apologize for what he said and move on and grow up and move forward with it. Stupid fight should have never happened. I understand it from both sides, but you're absolutely right. He's been a champion for free speech with helping everyone get back on Twitter and giving Donald Trump a voice once again before the election, before he won the election. So we hope he comes back soon. Roger, we hope you come back soon, which is next week. As always, my friend, a delight to see you. And everyone join Roger tonight, stonezone.com, 8 p.m. Eastern, right, Roger?
Yes, WABCradio.com, 8 p.m. tonight. We're going to give you the breakdown on this stunning news that one of the Federal Reserve Board governors has been busted for criminal mortgage fraud. I believe that this will lead to her removal. That shifts control of the Federal Reserve to Donald Trump. We may finally get the interest rate cut that the inflation rate and today's unemployment rate would certainly merit. Thanks, John.
Roger, we'll see you next week, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for being with us today here on The Great America Show. We hope to see you back here tomorrow for The Great America Show, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. Same time, same place tomorrow. We'll see you here. Until then, may God bless you. May God bless America. And may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. Have a great night, everybody.